Good evening and welcome back to Sunday Evening Devotions and our journey through the Bible. Well, I've changed the scenery just a little bit. I'm down in the basement of my house. You know, that safe place where you go in case there's a very violent storm. As a kid, I always thought the basement was a pretty cool place. You know, it's where the mechanicals are. You got the furnace, right? And that thing that keeps you warm. And it has an air conditioner with it. It keeps you cool. You got a hot water tank. Well, I guess over there. Right? All this equipment that functions. But the important part in this mechanical area of the house is that back wall. You know, in my house, most of the basement's finished, but that back wall reminds me that this house sits on a foundation. And that's where they put all this stuff to operate your house. You know, these are the guts, as it were, of the basics of a house. Well, I'm here because, well, that's kind of what we've been studying in the Bible so far. We've been looking at the first 11 chapters or so of Genesis, and it's really the foundation of the rest of the Bible. It's the guts. You know, it's where the furnace is. It's where the water purifier is. It's the foundation. It's what kind of holds things together. And what we've seen in the Bible so far is that the Bible is about God. You know, it's not about us. Yeah, we figure in the Bible as human beings, but the Bible is God's revelation of himself, and he's the creator. He's the one that laid that foundation. You know, he put the mechanicals together so that God creates things. And there's all kinds of stories about how the world came together, and they often call them myths. But you see, the Bible, although it's not as old as some other human civilizations, the Bible is God's word to us through his people, through Moses, who God sent, to reveal again the basics of how things came into being. That's important. And not only did God make everything, but as we've seen, God has put us into relationship with himself. You know, just like all the stuff around here, it has a relationship to my house. You know, it makes it function and keeps it cool and you know, lets the water come in and all those kinds of things. It operates in a system that works together. Well, God's system for us in our relationship is called his covenant. And he made that with Adam and Eve. And he made Adam and Eve male and female. These are just basic things about life, about who we are in relationship to God. We're made in his image. People are important. We're not just part of the stuff. We're not just the mechanics of this world, or we're not even just little parts of it that can be interchanged. No. We are made in God's image. And we're important to him enough that he wants a relationship with us. And even though we messed that up, even though our first parents didn't keep that arrangement and didn't glorify God, and so they sinned and they brought sin into the world and corruption and brought death, yet we've seen through the book of Genesis so far that God has kept his promise, that he wanted a relationship with us. And so when they sinned, he made a promise that a son would come, and that son, that seed, would deliver them. And we've seen shapes of that and foreshadowings of that. We saw with Noah, who was born and was hoping that his parents were hoping that he would be the promised son. Well, he was in a way. God used him to save humanity, but he wasn't the Christ, the seed of the woman who would crush that serpent's head. No, you see, God has made all this stuff and given us the foundation of life. He tells us why things are the way they are. It's sin that's affected our bodies and our lives and causes death and disease and destruction. And yet in all that, God is gracious. God is working to keep a people for himself, to make a people for himself, to redeem a people for himself. And that's really important. So these initial chapters of Genesis answer all kinds of basic questions about who we are, who God is. You know, what's it all about? Why are we here? Why are we made? And that's why the book's important. And I know there are stories about, again, the flood. You can look at Gilgamesh and the Mesopotamian archives. Did you know that in every major culture of humanity there's a flood story? Does that mean they're all myths, that they're all the same? No. It means there's a consciousness of man. He knows that God sent a flood. And so in the fallen nature of man, you know, we made up these stories. So God has revealed to us the real answer and why it happened and why that consciousness is there. Because our conscience bears witness that there is a God. and that he made all things, and that we will give an account to him. But you know what the good news is? The good news is that we won't have to stand alone. The good news is that God sent his promised Son. He keeps his promises. And he will come someday. And so we're getting close in the Bible to the next big part of the story, where he's going to pick a particular man, and through him will come that one who will save you and me. So next time the storm rages and the tornado sirens go off and you run to your basement and you're looking at the foundation, remember, the world has a foundation. It was laid by God, and the foundation of yours and my relationship with him is in Jesus Christ, in the promise of Christ, and God keeps his promises, and he will keep you safe if you would but put your trust in Jesus. Well, that's it for tonight. Isn't that great news?